Chapter 38. Duan pulled me into the bedroom and closed the door. I stood to the side and looked at him. I didn't know what to say. Duan put down the dessert. He turned around and suddenly hugged me. I was stunned. It had been a few days since I'd felt this familiar warmth. After a while, Duan let go of me. He looked into my eyes and gently stroked my face. I hadn't seen him for a few days. Duan looked very haggard. "I'm sorry. You've suffered a lot these past few days." Duan eyes were moist. Although I didn't know why he said that, I didn't want to see him sad. I threw myself into his arms. I couldn't control my tears. I felt very safe in his arms. Duan stroked my hair and hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry." His voice was hoarse. I lifted my head and looked at him. I stroked his face. "Don't say that. It's my fault. I didn't consider your feelings. I'm sorry, husband." Duan sat down on a chair and hugged me. I sat on his lap and hugged his neck tightly. Duan said, "I want to tell you something. But you have to promise me that you won't lose your temper." He stroked my belly. He nodded. Duan said to me, "These past few days, I did not intentionally give you the cold shoulder. I was like this because I was unhappy." "What's going on?" "That day at the birthday party I was chatting with my friends, but Yuexin suddenly pulled me aside and showed me a photo on her phone. In the photo, Han Hao was hugging you. I looked at what you and Han Hao were wearing at that time, and I was sure that you weren't dressed for the party. I remembered that Han Hao came to our house on the second day of our wedding, and I did see the two of you hugging from upstairs, but I believed that there was nothing going on between you and Han Hao. I just didn't know what Yuexin meant by doing this. At that time, she told me that you had suddenly left, and I wanted to see what she would do next, so I went along with what she wanted me to do. I just happened to see you and Han Hao walking over at the door, so I pretended to be very angry." "I pretended to be angry. Then why did you act so angry in the bedroom? Why didn't you tell me at that time?" After hearing Duan words, my mood improved a lot. I was very angry at that time. Seeing the two of you together wearing his jacket and thinking about that photo, I couldn't control my emotions. Besides, what if Yuexin was eavesdropping at that time? If you want to put on a show, you have to put on a show. Duan curled his lips. "Then why did you treat me like that these past few days? Wouldn't it have been better if you secretly told me at night?" I also curled my lips. After all these past few days I also felt very wronged. Duan kissed me on the cheek, hugged me and said, "I originally wanted to tell you, but Yusen has been at home for the past few days and has been observing us. I didn't have a chance to talk to you." During the day, in front of Yusen, I couldn't show that I was good to you. When I came back at night, you were either sitting on the floor or sleeping on the table. I carried you to the bed and lay next to you to look at you. At that time I had a lot of things to tell you. Then you didn't eat the dessert I made for you. You look much better than the dessert. After I came back I looked at you and didn't notice anything. I fell asleep while looking at you. I patted his head and said, "Glib tongue. Then why did you want to talk to me about this today?" "My father arranged for Yuexin to help him with something, so I took the opportunity to come back and tell you everything clearly. That way you can feel a bit more at ease. Seeing you so haggard these past few days, I don't feel good about it. I have to leave in a bit, or else she'll be suspicious." Puzzled, I asked, "But why did you suddenly suspect her?" Duan put me down and stood up. Holding me in his arms, he softly said, "Everything is too coincidental. That day, right after you told me what Yuexin did to those girls in high school, Yuexin brought that photo. I don't want her to hurt you. I don't care about anything else, but as long as she threatens you and our child, I can't ignore it." Duan held my face. "You are with me right now, and that is more important than anything else." I leaned against Duan chest, tears streaming down my face again. After a while, Duan looked at his watch and said, "It's getting late. I should go back to the company. You should rest well and wait for me to come back tonight." "Oh right, I still have to continue acting. Thank you for your hard work, wife. I'm leaving." Duan kissed me, then opened the door and left. I stood at the window and looked at his silhouette. As he walked away, he waved. I knew he was saying goodbye to me. I touched the glass window and smiled happily. I would no longer believe in Uxian or other people's rumors. I would believe that Duanmu-K loved me, and that he loved me very much. Thinking about how Duanmu-K wanted me to continue acting with him, I decided to cook dinner for everyone tonight. I went to the kitchen and asked the housekeeper for the ingredients for dinner. Then I began to prepare. Finally it was evening, and the dinner I had prepared was almost ready. I asked the housekeeper to keep it a secret for me for the time being. Don't tell anyone that this dinner was mine, and I went upstairs to rest. Less than half an hour later, the housekeeper came to call me for dinner. When we arrived at the dining room, everyone was already seated. I looked at Duanmu-K with a serious expression. I sat down next to him. He was almost done eating. At this time, Duanmu-Tachio said, "Tonight's dinner is different from usual. It's very delicious." Xiao Fengya called the housekeeper over and asked, "Auntie, tonight's dinner is very good. Could you please tell the chef that?" The housekeeper waved her hand and said, "Madam, this meal wasn't prepared by the chef. It was prepared by the young madam." Everyone looked at me, and I lowered my head in embarrassment. My mother was very worried. "Lier, you're pregnant right now. Don't do these things. What if it affects the baby?" Xiao Fengya agreed. "That's right. Your health is important, Xiao Li." I smiled. "It's okay. My health is good. I'm not tired." Duanmu-K put down his chopsticks and stood up. He turned to go upstairs, but Xiao Fengya stopped him. Why are you eating so fast?" Duanmu-K stopped and turned to look at me. "I don't have an appetite for her cooking." Then he turned and went upstairs. I knew that Duanmu-K was acting, so I pretended to be very sad. I put down my chopsticks and lowered my head. I didn't look at anyone. At this time Uxin stood up and said, "I'm also done eating." Then she went upstairs. Chapter 39. I pretended to be very sad and sat there covering my face. My mother was very worried. She sat next to me and rubbed my head. "Lier, what happened? Did you and Xiao K have a fight?" I didn't look up. Covering my face, I said, "Mom, it's nothing. It's just that I made a mistake. Xiao K is angry. I didn't make him happy." At this time Xiao Fengya said, "This child is too disobedient. You're pregnant and he still treats you like this. I'm going to have a good talk with him." Duanmu-Tachio also nodded. "Xiao Li, don't be sad. I'll find a chance to talk with him. Don't be too emotional. You have to keep a normal attitude." I nodded and pretended to wipe the tears from the corners of my eyes. At this time my father put down his chopsticks. "Little brother, it just so happens that I have something to tell you and your sister-in-law today. Your sister-in-law and I have disturbed your family for a long time. We were planning to go back tomorrow, but we didn't expect something like this to happen. No matter what at this time, I'll have to trouble you and your sister-in-law to take care of the child in Lier's belly." Duanmu-Tachio said, "Don't worry, big brother. After all, that's my grandson. I'll definitely take good care of them." Then I'm relieved. My father nodded. Listening to my father and Duanmu-Tachio's conversation, I learned that my parents were going home tomorrow. The four parents sat around the dining table and talked for a long time. The general idea was that they were going to speak up for me and educate Duanmu Quebec. Then they told me not to be angry and to take good care of myself and the child in my belly. I thought to myself, it seems that Duanmu-K and I've fooled our parents. But I don't know if it can fool Uxin. After talking for a while, I got up and went upstairs. When I reached the door, I heard a conversation inside. I leaned against the door and listened carefully. Judging from the voices, it should be Uxin and Duanmu Quebec. I heard Uxin say to Duanmu-K, "Duanmu, Gidge, did you fight with her?" Duanmu-K replied, "Yes, I asked her what her relationship with Hanhao was, and she lied to me. I've always felt that there was something wrong with her. Xian's words revealed a hint of pride. Why do you say that? It seemed that Duanmu K was trying to fish for information from her again. Duanmu Gij, think about it. She already knew Han Hao before she married you. Moreover, her relationship with Han Hao has always been very good. The two of them often interact with each other. Xian began to shift the blame onto Han Hao and me. I know that. But big brother, have you thought about it? Does the child in her belly have to be yours? Hearing Xian's words, I was shocked. Was she going to use my child as an excuse? What do you mean? Duanmu K's tone was clearly starting to get angry. Duanmu Gij, do you remember the drinking contest between you and Cold Glaze? At the time she was drunk, and Han Hao took her home. Do you dare to say that nothing happened between the two of them? Xian really dared to think. How long ago was that? Moreover, I was only 4 weeks pregnant, so the timing didn't match. Duanmu laughed and said, "Don't make wild guesses. She was only 4 weeks pregnant, so the timing didn't match. The drinking contest between her and I happened a month before we got married." It seemed that Duanmu K and I had the same idea. But can you guarantee that the doctor who examined her didn't receive any benefits from her? After Xian finished speaking, she didn't hear Duanmu K's response. Did he believe Xian's words? That's impossible. He knew how the child came about. How could I betray him? At this time Xian continued. Duanmu Gij, I'm going back first. If you want to investigate this matter thoroughly, let me know. I'll definitely help you. I'm going out. Hearing Xian's words, I quickly ran to the guest room next door where my parents were temporarily staying and hid. Luckily they were both downstairs. I leaned against the door and heard the sound of our bedroom door opening and closing. It seemed that Xian had really left. At this time I heard the sound of a door opening and closing. I guessed that at the end of the corridor, Xian had returned to her room. I straightened my clothes and nonchalantly opened the door and walked out. Seeing that there was no one else in the corridor, I quickened my pace and walked to my bedroom door. I opened the door and walked in, then quickly closed the door. I turned around and saw Duanmu K sitting at his desk, flipping through a book. Seeing my flustered appearance, he asked with a puzzled expression, "What's wrong? Why are you so nervous? What's going on?" I shook my head and walked in front of him. I pulled his hand and led him to the window. I whispered in his ear, "I accidentally overheard your conversation with Xian." Duanmu K looked at me with a surprised expression. "You heard everything she said?" I nodded. He smiled and stroked my hair. "Silly wife, don't think too much. I didn't believe her. I know. I just think that she's too good at spreading rumors. If you don't believe me, you'll definitely believe her. What should we do next?" I asked Duanmu K in a low voice. Duanmu K sat in his chair, deep in thought. Xian's mind is too heavy. I'm guessing that on the night of my birthday, she was leaning against the door and overheard our conversation. Otherwise, she wouldn't have taken the initiative to tell me all kinds of bad things about you every day. She even prepared evidence. If it were anyone else, they would have believed her already. It's a good thing that I know her a little bit. So, are we going to continue our Cold War? Mom and Dad asked me today, so I can only continue with the act. Dad probably wants to talk to me. Before he talks, we'll continue to pretend that we're fighting. After he talks to me, we'll pretend that we're slowly reconciling. That way it won't be so unnatural. That's the only way. The main thing is that Dad has to scold you. I don't feel good about it. I was a little unhappy. You're thinking too much. I'm used to being scolded by him. It's fine, don't worry. Duanmu K pulled my hand and hugged me. I leaned on his shoulder and didn't say anything else. As expected, Duanmu Tachio went to talk to Duanmu K the next day after seeing my parents off. I stood at the top of the stairs and looked into the living room. Xian was sitting on the sofa reading a book. I didn't know if she was really reading or eavesdropping. The conversation was really effective, although it was also part of our plan. In order to not appear too stiff that night, Duan took the initiative to talk to me at the dinner table. Just like that, our simple conversation was seen by everyone. During dinner, I glanced at Yuexin out of the corner of my eye. My expression became unnatural. It seemed that we had completely disrupted her plan. Chapter 40. In the next few days, the relationship between Duan and I became closer and closer, and Yuexin's expression also became colder and colder. During the days when Duan and I were pretending to be in a Cold War, Yuexin would hang out with everyone in the living room almost every day, especially when Duan was there. But after we reconciled, she returned to the way she was when I first met her, always locking herself in her room and refusing to come out. Today was the day I had to go to the hospital for a pregnancy test. After breakfast, Duan Tachio and Duan went to the company for a meeting. Originally, Xiao Fengya wanted to accompany me, but she received a call in the morning and had an urgent matter to attend to. There was no other way, so she arranged for Yuexin to go with me for the test. After arranging everything, she left in a hurry. Actually, I refused in my heart. I didn't want Yuexin to go with me. She hated me so much, who knew what she would do to me? Originally, I planned to call Duan but then I remembered that he was in a meeting, so I hung up the phone. Fortunately, Xiao Fengya arranged for a driver to take us to the hospital before we left. This way, there wouldn't be any problems on the way. Since there were so many people at the hospital, she probably wouldn't do anything out of line. In this way, we got into the car and drove to the hospital. No one spoke to each other on the way, and we arrived at the hospital in such an awkward atmosphere. I told the driver to find a place to wait for us, and send us home after the test. Since we had made an appointment with the doctor in advance, we didn't have to wait in line. After the test, we just had to wait for the report. Yuexin accompanied me the whole time. She didn't say a word and followed me wherever I went. Every day felt like a year when I was with her. Finally, it was time to pick up the report. It was almost noon, and there were more and more people in the hospital. The place to pick up the report was the second building across from the doctor's office. I didn't want to ask Yuexin for help, so I walked to the second building myself. Yuexin followed me closely. I thought for a moment and said, "Yuexin, why don't you go back? I can do it alone." She didn't say anything. She looked at me and followed me. Seeing that she didn't respond, I continued, "Why don't you wait for me at that place?" Yuexin looked at me and said coldly, "What? Are you afraid I'll hurt you?" She said what I was thinking, but I couldn't show it. I smiled and replied, "What are you thinking? I'm just worried you'll be too tired." Yuexin sneered, "Leng Yuli, I really can't underestimate you anymore." "What do you mean?" I knew she was about to turn hostile. "What do you mean?" I thought I could sway Duan Gij's heart. Just as I was about to succeed, I didn't expect you to join forces with Uncle Duanmu to ruin my plan. Do you know how happy I was when you and Duanmu Gij quarreled? You don't know how happy I am, especially when I see your dispirited appearance. Yuexin walked behind me and spoke in a very low voice, but I heard every single word very clearly. At this time we arrived at the entrance to the first floor. Because we had to cross a corridor to get to the second building, there were cars from the hospital on both sides. Plus, there were people coming and going, so we had to be careful if we wanted to get to the other side. At this time there were a few people who also wanted to go, so I decided to go with them. I looked behind me and saw Yuexin. Then I turned my back to her and said, "You can only see the bad in others, but not the good in others. No matter how much we quarrel, we're still together." The crowd began to move to the other side. I tried to keep up with the crowd. At this time I heard Yuexin say, "Maybe if you die, we'll really separate." Hearing Yuexin's vicious words, I wanted to turn around and argue with her, but I felt a pair of hands push me hard on the back. I lost my balance and fell to the ground. I subconsciously covered my stomach with my hands. At this time, an ear-piercing car horn sounded. An ambulance was speeding towards me. I subconsciously covered my face with my hands. The moment I turned my face, I saw Yuexin's cold face. The moment I raised my hands, I felt the whole world stop. I closed my eyes and waited for death to come. Gradually, the noise around me became louder and louder. When I opened my eyes again, I moved my hands away. The front of the ambulance was only 10 centimeters away from me. Thank God I was still alive. I suddenly remembered that I had just fallen. Did I hurt the baby in my stomach? At this time, several medical staff ran to my side and helped me up. They asked me if I felt any discomfort. I held my stomach and anxiously said to one of the medical staff, "Please take me to the gynecology department." Several medical staff put me on a stretcher. They took me to the doctor's consultation room and told him what had happened. As soon as the doctor listened, he immediately gave me a thorough examination of the fetus and arranged for me to be hospitalized. As soon as my room was arranged, Uxin appeared in front of me again. I didn't talk to her and called Douanmu, Quebec. I told him what had happened, but I didn't tell him that I had been pushed down. Soon Douanmu K brought the parents of both families to the hospital. When they saw me lying on the bed, Xiao Fengya cried really hard. She said that it was because she hadn't accompanied me to the hospital. That was why something like this had happened. Douanmu K sat next to me and held my hand. Everyone was anxiously waiting for the report. Eventually, the doctor came to the room with the report. He briefly explained the results of the examination. Although I had been frightened, I hadn't hurt the fetus. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Douanmu K kept holding my hand, but his face was full of anger. After the doctor left, Douanmu K found an excuse to send both parents away, leaving behind Uxin. When he came back, he locked the door of the room and stood at the door, staring at Uxin. Uxin looked at him but didn't say anything. Exin, don't you have anything to say to me? Douanmu K asked first. No, I answered simply, but it directly ignited Douanmu K's fuse. No. Then how did Xiao Li fall and almost get hit by a car? Douanmu K shouted at her. This time Uxin cried. She sat on a chair and wiped her tears. I don't know. At that time we were walking with a few people to the opposite building, but I couldn't keep up with her. When I saw her again, she had already fallen to the ground. At this time, an ambulance drove towards her. I didn't have time to save her, but fortunately, the car didn't hit her. Chapter 41. When Douanmu K heard Uxin's words, he suddenly walked towards her. Uxin kept retreating until she reached the foot of the wall. Douanmu K pressed his right hand on Uxin's shoulder and pressed her against the wall. Douanmu K said fiercely, "Uxin, if you deliberately set up my wife, then don't blame me for being rude to you." Then he let go of Uxin. "Leave. I don't want to see you right now." Uxin looked sadly at Douanmu K, then at me. Clutching her shoulder, she walked out of the room. Hearing her close the door, Douanmu K walked to my side and held my hand. His expression was solemn. I understood that Douanmu K was worried that I had been wronged. I rubbed his head and smiled. "Hubby, smile." "I can't smile." He lowered his head. His voice was full of sadness. "Don't be sad. I'm fine, aren't I? It's obvious that she pushed you. She hurt you once, so she'll hurt you a second time and a third time." "No way. You already lost your temper with her. How could she still do that?" Although I didn't believe it myself, Douanmu K's eyes blurred as he looked out the window. "Hope so." I stayed in the hospital for 2 days. With the doctor's permission, I was discharged and went home. After that incident, I wasn't allowed to do anything at home. Later I got Douanmu Tachio's permission. As long as it wasn't during his office hours, I could go in and out of his study to read. That way I could kill time by reading. I hadn't seen Uxin for a week. Later I heard from Xiao Fengya that Uxin had asked Douanmu Tachio to go on a business trip. It just so happened that Douanmu Tachio had a project that required him to go abroad for inspection, so he sent her out. It would probably take half a month for her to return. I thought that since she wasn't home, I could relax a little. That night, when Douanmu K came home from work, we sat down to eat dinner. Because of the pregnancy reaction, My anorexia was getting worse. I sat next to Duanmu K and absent-mindedly picked at the rice in my bowl with my chopsticks. Looking at the table full of dishes, I had no appetite. Xiao Fengya saw that I had no appetite. "Xiaoli, what's wrong? Is today's food not to your taste?" I shook my head and said, "Mom, no. The food today was pretty good. I just couldn't eat it." "Your pregnancy reaction is too obvious. What do you want to eat? I'll arrange for someone to cook it." Xiao Fengya sighed. Duanmu K put down his chopsticks and said to Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya, "Dad, Mom, look at Xiao Li's situation. She can't eat a lot of the food we eat. She can only watch. I want to find someone who specializes in cooking for Xiao Li. What do you think?" I pulled Duanmu K's sleeve and said in a low voice, "Don't mess around. I'm fine. It's good to eat together like this." Xiao Fengya shook her head. "Why do you need to find someone else? The person you're looking for isn't familiar with Xiao Li, and they don't know what she likes to eat. Just leave it to me." Duanmu K turned to look at me. I nodded at him. He said to Xiao Fengya, "Okay. Mom, thank you for your hard work." I said in a low voice, "Mom, there's no need to go through so much trouble. I'm fine with anything. You don't have to make anything for me." Xiao Fengya smiled and said, "Silly child, what's the big deal? You're fine. Your father and I both think so." I lowered my head in embarrassment. Just like that, from the second day onwards, Xiao Fengya would make a special nutritious meal for me for every meal. At the beginning, my appetite wasn't very strong, but as time passed, I gradually could eat a little more. Xiao Fengya was very happy to see my appetite increase. That night, just as I finished eating dinner and was about to go upstairs, I saw Yuexin walk in with her luggage. When she saw me, she froze for a moment. She looked at me and didn't say a word. She took her luggage and went back to her bedroom. It seemed she had returned from her business trip. I would have to face her again in the future. The next morning, everyone sat at the table to eat. As usual, Xiao Fengya brought my breakfast to me. Looking at the breakfast, I smiled at Xiao Fengya and said, "Thank you, Mom. My reaction isn't as strong now. There's no need to go through so much trouble. It's a good thing you have to wake up early every day to make nutritious meals for me." Xiao Fengya sat across from me and said, "Silly child, what are you talking about?" I helplessly looked at Duanmu K and gave him a look. He seemed to understand and said to Xiao Fengya, "Mom, I don't think there's any need to go through so much trouble. Let's take a break. If we work so hard, I'm afraid my dad will beat me." When Duanmu Tachio heard this, he gave me a look of disdain. Xiao Fengya smiled and said, Okay. But we still have to finish today's meal. Today's ingredients just happened to be delivered." I nodded and glanced at Yuexin opposite me. She had been eating with her head lowered the entire time. After eating breakfast, Duanmu Tachio and Duanmu K went to work. Yuexin went back to her room to get used to the time difference. After eating, I wanted to help clean up, but I was kicked out of the kitchen by Xiao Fengya. Helpless, I could only go to Duanmu Tachio's study. Xiao Fengya was in the kitchen preparing today's lunch. The morning sun shone through the glass window into the study room, making it warm. I don't know if I was tired, but I actually fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up again, the nanny was already knocking on the door to ask me to go out for dinner. It seems that I slept for a long time, directly sleeping from morning to noon. I went to the dining room. Xiao Fengya had prepared a sumptuous lunch. Although it was only me, Xiao Fengya, and Yuexin eating, there was still a lot of food prepared. After Xiao Fengya and I sat down, she called the nanny over. "Go upstairs and call Yuexin down to eat." The nanny nodded and went upstairs. After a while, Yuexin came to the table with a confused expression. Xiao Fengya looked at her and asked, "What's wrong? Are you still not awake?" Yuexin rubbed her eyes and shook her head. "No, I'm awake. Okay, let's eat." Then she looked at me and said, "Xiaoli, eat more. I made this especially for you." She picked up some cabbage and put it in my bowl. "Thank you, Mom." I glanced at Yuexin. She was still eating with her head down. It seemed she didn't want to talk to me, so I didn't take the initiative to talk to her. About halfway through the meal, I vaguely felt a pain in my stomach. At first, I didn't pay much attention to it, but it became more and more painful. My forehead began to sweat. I put down my chopsticks and clutched my stomach. At this time, Xiao Fengya saw that I wasn't in a good state, so she quickly asked, "Xiaoli, what's wrong?" I clutched my stomach and raised my head with difficulty. Mum. Hurry and take me to the hospital. Chapter 42. Gradually, my consciousness became blurry, and my limbs felt weak. I didn't know who was carrying me and running. Then I got into the car. I didn't know how long it had been bumpy. Then I smelled the hospital's disinfectant, and I lost consciousness. When I woke up, I was lying on the hospital bed. There were many people standing around me. Duanmu K was standing next to me, his eyes red. Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengya were standing there too. My parents were there too. Yuexian was standing in the corner. Although I was awake, I couldn't move my body. Duanmu K saw that I was awake. He pulled my hand and called the doctor to check on me. The doctor gave me a simple checkup and checked the case. Then he called Duanmu K and the others to the side and whispered something. Then he left. Duanmu K sat next to me with a sad face. I raised my hand and touched his face. I asked softly, "What's wrong?" Duanmu K didn't answer me. Instead, he turned his back and covered his face. Seemed he was crying. I was even more puzzled. Could it be that I had a miscarriage because of the severe abdominal pain? I pulled his shirt and asked, "What's wrong? Where's the baby? Is the baby still here?" Duanmu K didn't answer. Instead, he twitched even harder. I let go of his shirt and lay there. I felt as if my world had collapsed. My tears couldn't stop. My baby is gone. My baby is gone. Why is it like this? Why? I asked myself again and again in my heart. Duanmu K turned around and continued to cover his face. He sobbed and said, "Waifu, I'm sorry. Waifu, our baby. What's wrong with the baby?" I was even more agitated. I pulled his arm and asked, "He's fine." He suddenly moved his hand away from his face and smiled mischievously. I stood there dumbfounded, while Duanmu K was laughing so hard that he was about to fall to the ground. "What did you say?" I thought I might be dreaming, so I confirmed it with him again. Duanmu K hugged me and said, "I said our baby is fine. Nothing happened to him at all." After hearing Duanmu K's answer, I knew that he was playing with me. He wanted me to think that something bad had happened to the baby. I was so angry that I pinched him and pushed him away. He grimaced and covered the spot where I had pinched him. He looked at me with an aggrieved face. Although I knew the truth, I still couldn't stop my tears from flowing down. I hugged my legs tightly and sat on the hospital bed, crying bitterly. Duanmu K saw that the joke had gone too far. He walked over and hugged me. He gently stroked my hair and said, "Waifu, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have played such a joke on you. Sorry. It's all my fault. Don't cry." I hugged Duanmu K and hammered his chest as hard as I could. I cried even harder. After a while, my emotions calmed down. Duanmu Tachio said to the two servants at the door, "Bring in the cook and the nanny." The two of them left the hospital room. Not long after, they brought in the cook and the nanny. Duanmu Tachio sat on the sofa and gestured for my father and mother to sit as well. After sitting down, Duanmu Tachio asked me with a serious face, "Xiaoli, tell us what happened." I nodded and told him everything that happened during lunch. After listening to my description, Duanmu Tachio turned to Xiao Fengya and asked, "Did you prepare today's lunch?" Xiao Fengya wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said, "I prepared it." Was there a problem with the ingredients, condiments, and seasonings? No, they were all normal dishes. I ate all of them, but nothing happened to me. Seeing Duanmu Tachio question Xiao Fengya, I secretly pulled Duanmu K over and asked, What's going on? Why is Dad questioning Mom? Duan Muke moved closer to my ear and said, You don't know yet, right? You accidentally ate saffron. Luckily you didn't eat much. If you didn't have stomach cramps and rushed to the hospital in time, the baby would have died. Hearing Duan Muke's words, I broke out in a cold sweat. Heavens, how could I be so careless as to eat saffron? Was someone trying to frame me? Duan Mu Lixiong continued. I don't care who did this, I hope you can come out and admit to it. Don't let me find out. If that happens, things will get serious. Hearing Duan Mu Lixiong's words, no one dared to speak. Duan Mu Tachio motioned for Xiao Fengya to stand to the side. He pointed at Yuexin and asked, Yuexin, what were you doing between breakfast and lunch? Yuexin said, After breakfast I went back to my room to sleep. I slept until the nanny came upstairs to call me for lunch. Duan Mu Tachio looked at the nanny. Were you the one who called her for lunch? The nanny replied, Yes, master. I also called her young madam. Duan Mu Tachio continued. During that time, did you see anyone other than the young madam, you, and the chef enter or leave the kitchen? The nanny shook her head. No, definitely not. When the chef was cooking, he told me that he didn't have enough white sugar, so I went out to buy some. I don't know what happened during that time. At that moment, the door to the room was pushed open. A nurse came in and handed a report to Duan Mu Quebec. Then she left. Duan Mu K looked at the report, then handed it to Duan Mu Tachio. Duan Mu Tachio took the report and looked at the chef. It seems that you and the nanny are the biggest suspects. The report the nurse just sent says that the entire table of lunch, except for the rice, contains crocus. I think you should give me an explanation. The nanny and the chef were scared silly. The chef said, Master, there's no reason for me to harm the young madam. I've been with the Duan Mu family for so long. There's no way I would harm anyone. If I wanted to harm the young madam, why didn't I do it from the beginning? The nanny also said, Master, I've always been by the young madam's side. There's no chance for me to harm the young madam. The young madam has always been good to us. There's no reason for us to harm her. After listening to the chef and the nanny, I was 100% sure that they weren't the culprits. I glanced at Yuexin, who was standing in the corner. The corners of her mouth lifted. I immediately understood. Other than her, no one would harm me. However, I didn't have any evidence to prove that she was the culprit. Still, I couldn't wrongly accuse an innocent person. I forced myself to sit up and said, Dad, wait a moment. Duan Muke helped me up and used a pillow to steady me. I said, Dad, let's just let it go. I believe that no one did it. Just treat it as if it was for me and the baby. Don't investigate further. Chapter 43. Duan Mu Tachio didn't answer, but Duan Muke wasn't happy. He looked at me and said, We can't just let this go. This matter must be investigated to the end. Duan Muke gave me a look. I knew that he had already guessed that Yuexin was behind this, and wanted to borrow Duan Mu Tachio's hand to drag her out. At this time, Duan Mu Tachio nodded. My father also said, Lier, I think what Xiao Ke said makes sense. This matter needs to be investigated. Since she started framing you when you were pregnant, when you were born, wouldn't it have gotten worse? I shook my head and looked at Duan Mu Tachio. Dad, just promise me. I think that if the baby knows, he won't want to pursue this matter. Duan Mu Tachio thought for a moment and said, Okay, I promise Shaoli today. This matter will be over. But if something like this happens again, don't blame me for being hostile. Then he left with Xiao Fengya. Mother and father also stood up. Mother looked at the housekeeper and the cook and said, You guys can go back. It's fine now. Then she left the room with the cook and the housekeeper. Only Yuexin, Duan Muke, and I were left. Yuexin looked at us and walked towards the door without saying a word. At this time, Duan Muke called out to her. Wait a moment. Yuexin stopped and turned around to look at Duan Mu Quebec. I hope this is the last time. Duan Muke looked at her and said resolutely. Yuexin was stunned for a moment. Then she sneered and ran out of the door without looking back, leaving me and Duan Muke alone. Duan Muke sat next to me and stroked my hair thoughtfully. He didn't say a word. Looking at his face, I felt that there was something on his mind. Seeing that he didn't say anything, I reached out and grabbed his hand. What's wrong? That expression. Duan Muke thought for a moment and said, Wife, let's move out. I have a villa in the suburbs. Let's move there. That way we won't have to worry about anyone harming us. But Mom and Dad won't agree. Plus your work is too far away and you have to take care of me. Every day you'll be very tired. When my belly gets bigger, I won't be able to cook for you. I told him my thoughts. Nothing is more important than you and the baby. It doesn't matter if I'm a bit tired. I'll talk to Mom and Dad. As for cooking, I can slowly learn. Is that okay, wife? Duan Muke looked at me with expectant eyes. Seeing that he was so considerate of me, I couldn't think of any reason to refuse him. "'Kay, I'll listen to you. When I'm discharged, we'll talk to Mom and Dad." Duan Muke nodded and hugged me. We stayed in the hospital for almost 2 weeks before the doctor allowed us to leave. Although it was safe to stay in the hospital, it wasn't as comfortable as staying at home. On the day we were discharged, Duan Muke finished the discharge procedures early and took me home. The whole family greeted us at the door. After taking me to the living room, Duan Muke invited Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya to the study. After the 4 of us sat down, Duan Muke closed the door to the study. "Dad, Mom, Xiaoli and I have something to talk to you about." Duan Muke closed the door and sat down. "What is it?" Duan Mutachio looked at him. Duan Muke looked at me and then said to Duan Mutachio, "Dad, Xiaoli and I have decided to move to the villa in the suburbs until Xiaoli gives birth." Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya were stunned. They looked at each other. Then Xiao Fengya asked, "Kay, why do you suddenly want to move out? It's happened several times already. I think it's too dangerous to stay in this house. It's not that I don't trust you and Dad, I just don't trust other people." "Son, you're thinking too much. Mom already paid a lot of attention this time. All the ingredients were bought by me, and all the dishes were made by me. This kind of thing definitely won't happen again." Hearing Xiao Fengya's words, I felt very uncomfortable in my heart. "Mom, that's not what we meant. I also trust that you'll take good care of Xiaoli. So many things have happened in our house, and I'm scared. Besides, after we move out, you and Dad can come here often." Duan Muke still insisted. I pulled Duan Muke's sleeve and whispered, "Let's forget about it. If we really move out, Mom and Dad won't feel good." Duan Muke looked at me and said, "It's okay. Mom and Dad will understand." I saw that Xiao Fengya's eyes were glistening with tears. She was trying hard not to let them fall. At this time, Duan Mutachio said, "Okay, that's a good idea. How about this? You move out 2 days later. I'll send someone to tidy up the house first. Then I'll see if you need anything." Xiao Fengya was about to open her mouth, but Duan Mutachio stopped her. She had no choice but to secretly wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. "Thank you, Dad. We'll stay for 2 more days. We'll move out on the weekend." Hearing Duan Muke's words, Xiao Fengya cried even harder. I walked over to her and gently comforted her, wiping away her tears. When the discussion was almost over, Duan Muke and Mom and Dad were still talking about other things. I found an excuse and left the study because I had something very important to do. I had to find Yuexin and talk to her. I sent a message to Yuexin, telling her that I was waiting for her by the flower pond. I walked to the flower pond. Although I hadn't taken care of it for a long time, the roses in the pond were still blooming beautifully. It seemed that someone had taken care of them for me while I wasn't here. I sat on the rattan chair and smelled the sweet fragrance. My mood calmed down. At this time, I saw a figure slowly walk toward me. I couldn't be more familiar. It was Yuexin. She walked in front of me and looked at me. Then, she sat on the edge of the flower pond opposite me. She looked at the flowers in the pond, her eyes blurred. "Why did you call me here?" she asked. I thought for a moment and said, "Yuexin, I won't beat around the bush with you. Can you let go of my child?" "I think you're mistaken. Your child is fine in your belly." Yuexin turned to look at me and then at the flower pond. "Do you dare to swear that everything that happened to me had nothing to do with you?" Yuexin's denial was within my expectations. I just didn't expect her to say it so matter-of-factly. Yuexin turned her head and sneered. She looked at me and said, "So what if I did it?" I calmed down and said to her, "I don't care what you did to me in the past. Fortunately, my child is still growing healthily. I just hope that from now on you won't hurt us anymore." Chapter 44. Yuexin stood up and walked in front of me. She held my face and said, "You're too polite. You have such a beautiful face, but your IQ is obviously not as good as your looks. Don't you understand? You're an extra in this family. Not only are you an extra, but the child in your belly is an extra as well. When you weren't here, this family was very warm. But after you came, everyone was on your side. They almost forgot about my existence." I shook off Yuexin's hand and said, "You think too highly of yourself. If it weren't for the things you did, would Duanmu-Ke have started to hate you?" "Shut up!" Yuexin shouted at me. "Your appearance completely confused Duanmu-Gij. If it weren't for you, he would have fulfilled the promise he made to me when we were young. He would have married me. You didn't just confuse him, you also messed up my life. You're really hopeless. It seems that when Dad wanted to investigate, I should have supported him instead of standing up to stop him." Yuexin sneered and said, "You think he'll find out if you let him? Why wouldn't he find out? I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. Indeed, I was the one who pushed you down at the hospital. Course I didn't push you. Push someone else. That person bumped into you and directly knocked you to the ground. The timing was so coincidental. Just at that time a car drove over, but I didn't expect you to be so lucky." Listening to Yuexin's recount of the events of that day, although I had already guessed that she was the one who did it, I was still shocked. Yuexin continued, "As for the incident where you accidentally ate the saffron, I can only say that I think the heavens were helping me that day. When I walked into the living room from upstairs, I saw Xiao Fengya asleep on the sofa, so I pretended to look for fruit and walked into the kitchen. At that time, the nanny wasn't there. She said that day that I found out that she went out to buy seasonings. The chef was the only one left in the kitchen. He was busy cooking and all the dishes were placed on the table. This was a golden opportunity. Do you think I would miss it? Aren't you afraid that I'll sue you for murder?" I looked at Yuexin and asked. Yuexin walked in front of me and pressed me against the rattan chair. "Sue me. You can't do it. You're too soft-hearted. I noticed it not long after you came here. It's because of your weakness that I have a chance to play with you. Aren't you afraid that Duanmu-Ke will find out your true colors? If Yuexin had a weakness, it would be her love for Duanmu-Quebec." Yuexin froze for a moment, then let go of me. She sat across from me and said, "I did everything for him. No matter how bad he treats me, I still love him. Even if he confronts me, I will let him understand my thoughts." Hearing Yuexin's words, I couldn't help but sneer. "Yuexin, you're too naive. Do you really think that Duanmu-Ke will believe your words?" Yuexin stood up and looked at me. "You'll know sooner or later that I'm right." After saying that, Yuexin turned around and walked towards the living room. I sat on the rattan chair and thought about what Yuexin had said. I suddenly felt that she was very pitiful. She truly loved someone, and for that person, she lost her good nature and became a cold-blooded animal. Fortunately, we'll be leaving in a few days. We won't have to worry about her trying to harm us. I stayed for a while, then returned to my room. Just as I was about to go upstairs, I saw the nanny carrying a box of beer, carefully climbing the stairs. I walked towards her and asked, "What's this?" When the nanny saw me, she put the box down. She wiped the sweat from her forehead and said, "Young mistress, this is the beer Yuexin wanted. She asked me to bring it to her. I looked at her suspiciously. Why does she want beer? You haven't been home for a few days, so you don't know. She's been like this for several days. She gets drunk every day. Sometimes she doesn't eat when we call her to eat. Madam and Master don't know what to do with her, so they just let her be. That's not right. I'll go with you. Then I followed the nanny to Yuxian's room. The nanny knocked on the door, put down the box of beer and left. When I entered the room, the smell of alcohol hit my face. I subconsciously covered my nose and moved towards the door. I glanced at Yuxian's room. Although it wasn't very big, it was very clean. There was nothing in the room except for a single bed, a wardrobe with 3 doors, and a simple desk. Yuxian was sitting on the floor, leaning against the window. She was holding a bottle of beer in one hand and covering her head with the other, looking at the scenery outside the window. Seeing that she didn't respond, I knocked on the door. She looked up, saw me, and turned her head away. I leaned against the doorpost and crossed my arms in front of my chest. I looked at her and asked, "What's the point of ruining yourself?" Yuxian didn't turn her head. She coldly replied, "That's my business. Has nothing to do with you. I don't want to care about you, and I know you don't want me to care about you either. You want Duanmu to care about you so you can act pitiful in front of him. Do you think it's useful? Are you done talking? This is my room. Please leave." Yuxian looked at me impatiently and glared at me. "I don't want to stay here either. I hope you can do what I told you in the garden. The biggest difference between you and me is our understanding of love. Love isn't hate, but mutual giving and dependence." At this moment, Yuxian stood up and walked towards me with an empty bottle of beer in her hand. She stopped in front of me. I didn't dodge and she didn't move. At this moment, Duanmu-K's voice came from behind us. "What are you doing?" I turned around and saw Duanmu-Quebec. Yuxian also saw Duanmu-Quebec. Her sharp eyes instantly became very gentle. Duanmu-K walked towards us. He stopped in front of me and looked at the bottle of beer in Yuxian's hand. Then he looked at me and said, "Wifey, why are you here? This place reeks of alcohol. You can't stay here. Go back first. I want to talk to her." I shook my head, indicating that I didn't want him to talk to Yuxian alone. Duanmu-K patted my shoulder and gave me a meaningful look. "Be good, go back in and have a good rest. You haven't rested since you came back from the hospital. I don't know where you went to play. I'll talk to her for a while. Don't worry, you can't eavesdrop outside the door. If I find out, I'll punish you." I understood that he had come prepared. It seemed like he had something to talk to Yuxian about. I glanced at Yuxian, then turned around and walked towards the bedroom door. When I reached the bedroom, I turned around and saw that Yuxian's door was closed. Chapter 45. I anxiously waited in my room for Duanmu-K to come back. I was worried that he would hurt Yuxian, but I was also worried that he would be bewitched by Yuxian. Perhaps it was just like Yuxian said, my heart was too soft. No matter how much Yuxian tried to frame me, I still had to think about how to resolve the conflict between us. I sat in front of my desk, casually flipping through a book, but I wasn't paying attention. I was thinking about what Yuxian and Duanmu-K were talking about in that room. At this time, the door was pushed open, and Duanmu-K walked in. He looked at me with a helpless expression, then threw himself onto the bed and covered his head with a pillow. I walked over and lay down next to him, leaning my head on his shoulder. Duanmu-K took the opportunity to pull me into his arms without saying a word. "What's wrong?" I asked, gently patting his back. "Shaoli, I suddenly feel like there's nothing I can do for you." He hugged me tightly. "You're thinking too much. You've already done enough for me." I cupped his face. "What did Yuxian say to you to make you like this?" Yuxian keeps saying that she likes me, that she loves me, but I feel like her love is too selfish. Actually, I know how she feels about you. Seeing her stubbornness without any results, sometimes I feel that she's very pitiful." I gently patted his back. After you left, I told her that if she were to hurt you again, I wouldn't let her go. But when I was about to leave, she hugged me from behind. I broke free from her grip and asked her to control her emotions. But I didn't expect her to push me to the ground and press me under her body. She kissed my lips without restraint and even began to take off her clothes. When I saw her like that, I felt extremely disgusted, so I pushed her away and slapped her. Duan Mu-Ke covered his head. You slapped her. Sure enough, what I was worried about happened. Duan Mu-Ke looked at me and nodded. And then, you just came out. After I slapped her, she sat on the ground in shock. Then she stood up and took off all her clothes in front of me. I didn't look at her. I just told her to have some self-respect and was about to come out. But I didn't expect her to stop me. What did she say to you? Duan Mu-Ke sighed again. She said that even if I didn't have feelings for her, she would still love me. She would also remove all the people around me who would endanger her feelings for me, including you. I stroked his hair. That's what I expected, I said. I don't know if she said she was angry or not. But I warned her that if she kept bothering us, I would kick her out and she wouldn't even take half a step into our house. It seemed Duan Mu-Ke didn't know what to do with her. To put it bluntly, Yuexin cared about him too much. That was why she had done so many wrong things. Although he and I both knew that Yuexin had done it, we didn't have any evidence. Duan Mu-Ke hugged me. All right. I don't want to think about it anymore. You don't want to think about it either. I'm tired. Lie down with me for a while. Then he hugged me. I leaned against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Gradually I closed my eyes. When I woke up again, it was already night time. I looked at the time. It was time for dinner. I woke Duan Mu-Ke up. After tidying up, we went downstairs. Xiao Fengya had already prepared a table full of dishes. After we sat down, Duan Mu-Ke glanced at the dishes on the table. Then he looked at Yuexin and Xiao Fengya. Xiao Fengya seemed to understand something. Don't worry. I bought the food and cooked it myself. What's wrong? You don't even trust your mother. Oh no. Duan Mu-Ke made a face at Xiao Fengya. Then he sat next to me and filled my plate with food. I felt very embarrassed. While we were eating, Duan Mu-Ke suddenly remembered something. He turned to Duan Mu-Tachio and asked, Father, have you arranged things for us at the villa? It's already been arranged. Your Uncle Zhang sent people over. When they went in to take a look, there were quite a few things missing in the villa. Including purchasing and simple decorating, it would take about a week, Duan Mu-Lixiong said. Duan Mu-Ke thought for a moment and said, Father, can you speed things up? I glanced at Yuexin. Although she was eating with her head lowered, I could feel that her expression was becoming more and more unnatural. It seemed she knew that we were going to move out. At this time Xiao Fengya said, Why are you in such a hurry? Do you have to leave? Can't you stay? I think your mother is right. If it's just the two of you, food and shelter will be a problem. If you can't do it, you can stay here. I've made up my mind. If you don't want to tell me, I'll tell Uncle Zhang to hurry up. Duan Mu-Ke put down his bowl and chopsticks. His expression was very serious. Xiao Fengya also put down her chopsticks. If you can't do it, why don't you ask Xiao Li's mother to come and live with us? That way you can rest assured and we can both take care of Xiao Li. Okay? Or what do you think? Mother, don't worry about it. This has nothing to do with you. I was the one who insisted on moving out with Xiao Li. Xiao Li objected, but she agreed in the end. So you should agree too. Yuexin said, Why do you have to move out? It's better to stay at home. Duan Mu-Ke glared at Yuexin and said impatiently, I don't think it's up to you to control what I do. Duan Mu-Ke, what kind of attitude is this? Is this how you treat your mother and Yuexin? Duan Mu-Tachio lost his temper and fiercely slammed his chopsticks on the table. Seeing that Duan Mu-Tachio was angry, I pulled Duan Mu-Ke's arm and asked him to stop talking. Duan Mu-Ke moved my hand away and said to Duan Mu-Tachio, Father, I don't want to talk about it. No matter what, I've already made up my mind. I'll contact Uncle Zhang. You mother and you Exon, please don't get involved. I'm done eating. I'm going upstairs. Then Duanmu K went upstairs without looking back. Duanmu Tachio was so angry that he slammed the table. I hurried to his side and comforted him. Father, don't be angry. I'll go upstairs and talk to him. Don't be angry. What if you hurt your body? That's right. Did you break your hand? Me see. Xiao Fengyao pulled Duanmu Tachio's hand away from the table. It was red and swollen. Look at you. Your hand is swollen. Can do whatever he wants. He's old enough to know when to stop. Don't be angry. I'll go get the first aid kit. I'll go. I stood up and was about to go to the living room to get the first aid kit, but Yuexin stopped me. She stood in front of me and said, I'll go. Then she turned and walked to the living room. Chapter 46. After Yuexin brought the first aid kit over, Xiao Fengyao carefully bandaged Duanmu Tachio's injured hand. After Duanmu K's tantrum, no one could eat anymore. I saw that Duanmu Tachio's anger had almost subsided, and Xiao Fengyao was comforting him. Yuexin said she was going out to do something, so she found an excuse to leave the restaurant. I felt that I was unnecessary, and since I was worried about Duanmu K, who was sulking upstairs, I found an excuse to return to my room. I pushed open the door. Duanmu K was half naked, and he was wearing a pair of casual pants. He was sitting on a stall by the window, staring blankly out the window. I walked over to him and sat down, leaning my head on his shoulder. He didn't speak, and neither did I. The two of us leaned against each other by the window. I didn't know what he was thinking, and he didn't know what I was thinking. After a while, Duanmu K raised his arm and pulled me into his embrace. I hugged him back, and he gently patted me. What's wrong? I shook my head. It's so good to have you. Silly, what nonsense are you talking about? Duanmu K cupped my face and kissed me on the lips. Feeling the warmth of his kiss, I tightly hugged his neck and whispered, No matter what, no matter where I go, as long as I have you by my side, it's enough. I understand. Understand. Just now, I really didn't control my emotions well. I shouldn't have vented my dissatisfaction towards others on the people who care about me the most. After I came up, I also reflected on my actions. I didn't consider Mom and Dad's feelings. Don't worry, I'll apologize to them later. Duanmu K lovingly stroked my hair. That's my good husband. Kissed him on the cheek. Silly wife, I'll go now. Duanmu K let go of me and stood up. He opened his bag and took out a t-shirt to put on. I sat there quietly, looking at his perfect body in front of me. As he changed, Duanmu K said, It's a bit late today. I'll call Uncle Zhang tomorrow morning. It'll be best if we can move out in 2 days. If we stay here for one more day, I'll think that Yuexin wants to harm you. K, I'll listen to you. Duanmu K made a handsome pose for me, then went to find Duanmu Tachio and Xiao Fengyao to apologize. Duanmu K went downstairs for more than 2 hours before he came back. When he came back and saw his happy expression, I knew that our family had reconciled. I wasn't as nervous as before. The next day, Duanmu K contacted Uncle Zhang early in the morning and asked him to speed up the process. It would be best if we could move out as soon as possible. Uncle Zhang also agreed to increase work efficiency. When the arrangements were almost done, he would contact Duanmu Quebec. The next few days seemed to have returned to normal. I spent more time reading in the study or admiring the flowers in the garden. As the baby grew bigger day by day, my pregnancy symptoms weren't as obvious. My appetite had greatly improved. Every time Xiao Fengyao saw that my appetite was getting better, she felt very happy. 2 days later, we finally received a call from Duanmu Quebec. He told us that we could move in. Everything was ready. Duanmu K and I only brought a few sets of clothes. The villa was well prepared, so we didn't need to bring much. Duanmu K asked a few of his subordinates to move all the luggage out of the villa. He stood at the door and watched to see if they had forgotten anything. I watched from the bedroom and did a simple check. Almost all of the luggage had been moved out. At this moment Yuexin came upstairs. We bumped into each other at the door of my bedroom. She stopped at the door as if she had something to say to me. I gave a few instructions to the people moving the luggage. Then I pulled Yuexin into the house and closed the door. I turned to look at Yuexin. "What's the matter?" Yuexin glanced at me and said, "I thought you guys were just saying it casually that day. I didn't expect you to really do it. You made the right choice. You even knew to move in order to avoid me." I was stunned. I thought for a moment and said, "You guessed wrong. We didn't move to avoid you. We just wanted to live alone." "Do you think I'll believe that?" Yuexin sneered. Then she sat on Duanmu-K's bed. She gently stroked the bedspread and looked at me. "Although I hate you, sometimes I envy you. You can be in Duanmu-Gija's arms. You can be by his side. You can also be in his heart. Did you know? If it weren't for your engagement, I was very confident that I could use my own means to climb into his bed and become his woman. Now it's all ruined because of you. Love is something between two people. If one person is willing and the other doesn't, do you think it will last? You clearly know that Xiao Ke doesn't love you, but you still want to use your selfish love to bind him. Do you think he will be happy?" I asked her back. "Do you really think that I won't do anything to you after you move?" Yuexin stood up and walked towards me. She stared into my eyes. "Yuexa, you can hurt me, but you don't have the right to hurt the child in my belly. This child belongs to Duanmu's family. It belongs to Duanmu, Quebec. Let alone you, even I don't have the right to hurt it. You better take care of yourself." Regardless of whether Yuexin was telling the truth or not, I really didn't want my child to be hurt. That's only your and Duanmu-K's child. Do you think you're the only one who can have a child? Don't be naive. Do you think Uncle Duanmu and Auntie Xiao are so good to you just because of the engagement? If you weren't carrying Duanmu's child in your belly, would they still be so good to you? Don't be naive. Yuexin looked at me mockingly. "Whatever you say. I can only tell you that if you still want to do anything, don't blame me for being impolite. I was lenient with you before because I thought you were pitiful. I didn't expect you to use my soft-heartedness as a tool to frame me. After we move out, we probably won't be able to see each other for a long time. That's good, I don't have to see your face as if you've done something wrong." I turned around and opened the door, preparing to leave. Yuexin said to me from behind, "You will regret it. Everything that happened before was just the beginning. The real show has just begun." Hearing Yuexin's words, I could imagine her evil smile. Just thinking about it made me feel very uncomfortable. I ignored her, closed the door and walked downstairs. The people who helped us move were no longer in the living room. Duanmu-Ke, Duanmu-Tachio, and Xiao Fengyao were standing in the living room chatting about something. Duanmu-Ke raised his head and saw me. He waved at me. Thinking that I was about to start a new life with him, I felt very happy. Chapter 47. When I saw Duanmu-Ke, I waved at him and carefully walked down the stairs. Ever since I was pregnant, Duanmu-Ke had been worried that the stairs would be too slippery. He was afraid that I would fall, so he had carpeted the stairs. It was much more convenient. Not only was it safe to walk, but there were also no noisy footsteps. I looked at Duanmu, Quebec. He was looking at me from the bottom of the stairs with a smile on his face. I held onto the handrail and walked towards him slowly. When I was halfway there, my left foot had just stepped on the carpet at the bottom of the stairs when I felt the carpet move. I was so shocked that I grabbed onto the handrail with all my might and took a step forward with my right foot. If I hadn't taken this step, there might not have been any accidents. My right foot twisted on the stairs and I lost my balance and rolled down the stairs. "Shaoli!" I heard Duanmu-Ke's hoarse shout. He quickly ran to my side and hugged me. "Shaoli, Shaoli, don't scare me." Duanmu-Ke hugged me tightly. I was stunned. At this moment, Duanmu-Tachio and Xiao Fengyao rushed to my side. I leaned against Duanmu-Ke's chest, and I felt a sharp pain in my right ankle. I forced myself to sit up to check my injury. At this moment, I felt a sharp pain in my abdomen. I clutched my abdomen and leaned back against Duanmu-K's chest. Xiaofengya screamed. She covered her mouth and sat on the floor. Duanmu-K looked at her and said, "Mom, what's wrong? Don't scare us at this time." Xiaofengya pointed at my abdomen with one hand and covered her mouth with the other. Trembling, she said, Quick. Take her. Take her to the hospital. Quick." I grabbed Duanmu-K's arm and asked, "Xiao-Ki, what's wrong?" Duanmu-K looked in the direction Xiaofengya was pointing and froze. Then he became very serious. He carried me out the door and said, "It's too late. I'm taking you to the hospital." The moment Duanmu-K picked me up, my gaze landed on Yuxian's sneering face at the staircase on the second floor. Duanmu-K didn't tell me what had happened. He just carried me and ran. He put me in the back seat of his car and drove me to the hospital. Usually it would take 15 minutes to get to the hospital, but today, Duanmu-K took less than 5 minutes to get to the hospital. I didn't know how many traffic lights he ran on the way there, and I didn't know how much he was speeding. After he arrived at the hospital, he threw the car to the side of the road and rushed to the emergency room with me in his arms. Along the way, my consciousness became more and more blurry. I only remembered that Duanmu-K carried me onto a stretcher. Then a group of people surrounded us. There were nurses and doctors, but Duanmu-K wasn't there. After that, I completely lost consciousness. Since I was pregnant, I didn't know how many times I had fainted. It felt like I had a dream. I dreamed that Yuxian was standing not too far away with a dagger in her hand. She was pointing it at a heart with the word K written on it. She was using the dagger to cut the heart. The ground was covered in blood, but she didn't stop. She was carefully cutting the heart again and again. I suddenly woke up from the dream. When I woke up, I saw Duanmu-K, Duanmu-Tachio, Xiaofengya, and my parents next to me. Everyone was looking at me with a sad expression. Xiaofengya saw me open my eyes and turned around. I saw her shoulders shaking. I guessed that she was crying. Even Duanmu-Tachio and my father, who were usually cold and indifferent, had a worried look on their faces. Duanmu-K held my hand and lowered his head. He didn't say anything. I seemed to have guessed the terrible result, but there was still a glimmer of hope in my heart. I hoped that my guess was wrong. I pulled Duanmu-K's hand. He raised his head and looked at me. I could see that his eyes were red and swollen. It seemed that he had cried too. I asked him softly, "Hubby, I'm okay, right? Although I fell, it wasn't very high. Is the baby okay?" Duanmu-K looked at me. His eyes were red. He stroked my hair and said, "The doctor said that you're okay. You just sprained both your feet to different degrees." But he didn't continue and turned his head away. My head buzzed. I grabbed Duanmu-K's sleeve and shouted, "But what?" My mother saw that I couldn't control my emotions. She hurried to my side and pulled my hand away from Duanmu-K's sleeve. Then she signaled to Xiaofengya to pull Duanmu-K to the side. Seeing that no one answered me, I became even more anxious. I shouted, "But what?" My mother hugged me tightly and stroked my hair. She said softly, "Li-er, be good. Don't get too excited. The doctor said that your body is very weak right now. You need to rest." I couldn't stop my tears from flowing down. I hugged my mother tightly. "Mom, what happened? Why didn't you tell me? Did something happen to the baby?" I clutched my mother's clothes, crying very sadly. My mother gently patted my back and said, "Li-er, you're still young. Believe me, there will be more babies in the future." I could feel that my mother's voice was choked with sobs when she said that. My mind blanked out. The baby is gone. I cried even harder. I felt that the whole world had become very dark. Duanmu-K walked to our side. He wiped my mother's tears and helped her to the sofa. Then he sat next to me. I looked up and saw his crying face. I threw myself into his arms, my tears soaking his clothes. "Wifey, I'm sorry. Duan Muke hugged me. He couldn't control his tears either. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of you. I know you're sad. You can hit me if you don't feel so sad. I leaned on Duan Muke's shoulder and tore at his clothes. I bit the flesh on his shoulder, causing him to grimace in pain. He didn't push me away. I didn't know what I was thinking anymore. There was only one sentence in my head, and that was that the baby was no longer here. I didn't know how long I cried. Duan Muke kept hugging me. Maybe it was because my body was too weak after the miscarriage. Gradually, I didn't even have the strength to cry. Duan Muke laid me down on the bed and covered me with the blanket. He held my hand and looked at me. I reached out and touched the spot where his tears had streaked. I thought about how I had found out that I was pregnant and how the baby was gone. I felt very upset. As I thought about it, my tears fell again. Duan Muke saw that I was crying and couldn't control his emotions. Chapter 48. After staying in the hospital for a day, no one left the room. I lay on the bed, my heart as dead as ashes. All I could think about was how sorry I was for my child. Looking at Duan Muke's sad face, I knew he was even sadder than I was. He loved this child very much and was looking forward to seeing him again. The atmosphere was so quiet that it felt like the air had frozen. At this time, my mother came to my side. Holding my hand, she said, "Li-er, do you feel better now?" I looked at my mother and said, "Mom, I feel much better. There's nothing that can make me feel more sad now." My mother said, "I've just discussed it with your father. After the doctor agrees to let you leave the hospital, you can come back to our home. Go back to your own home and rest well." At this time, Duan Muke came to my side and said to my mother, "Mom, can you not take Xiaoli with you? Don't worry, you can leave her with me. My parents and I will take good care of her. Don't worry, we won't let any harm come to her again." My mother looked at Duan Muke and said, "Do you think I will still believe your words? Before marrying into your family, I've been educating my daughter. I told her not to be unruly in your family and not to do things that hurt others. But my daughter is too kind. She didn't hurt any of you. Why would such a kind person encounter such a thing? Doesn't your family have any responsibility?" "Mom, I know. I understand what you mean. But please believe me one more time. I won't let any harm come to her again. I promise you, please believe me and give me another chance." Duan Muke looked at my mother apologetically. At this time, Xiao Fengya came to our side. She held my mother's hand and said, "Sister, don't worry. I will take good care of Xiaoli. I also promise that I will do my best to protect her. I won't let any harm come to her again." Now is not the time to talk about harming or not. No one can guarantee that such a thing won't happen in the future. But now that it has happened, we must take her back to protect our daughter's safety. It will be easier for us to take care of her. I looked at my mother and held her hand as I said, "Mom, just let me stay in the Duan Mu family. This matter has nothing to do with the Duan Mu family. It's mainly because I didn't take care of myself. I accidentally fell down the stairs and caused a miscarriage. This matter has nothing to do with any of them. You should talk to Dad." At this time, my father also came over. He looked at Duan Mutachio and then looked at me. Then he said to my mother, "Why don't we listen to our daughter? Since she doesn't want to come back, then let her do what she wants." My mother looked at my father and said seriously, "No one can say anything about this matter. Since I have decided to take her home, I will take her home. Don't try to persuade me anymore. This matter has nothing to do with any of you. I just want my daughter to stay by my side and be taken care of by me. I'm really scared now. I'm scared that she will get hurt again or even..." My mother choked. Duan Mutachio looked at me with a helpless expression. But my heart was as helpless as his. I didn't know how to explain this matter to my mother. Just as everyone was in a deadlock, Duan Mutachio came over. He looked at my father and said, "Brother, let's just let sister-in-law do as she pleases. Perhaps too many things have happened to Xiaoli recently, and sister-in-law can't accept it right now. We should let her stay with her daughter for a while. When sister-in-law is willing, I will have Duanmu Ke bring Xiaoli back. What do you think? My father looked at my mother and then nodded to Duanmu Tachio. Then the two of them walked out of the room. My mother took my hand and said, Xiaoli, you should rest well. When you are discharged, come back to our home. Of course, Xiao Ke can come and accompany you at any time. You two should have a good talk. Your mother and I will go out. Then she turned and walked out of the room with Xiao Fengya. Only Duanmu and I were left in the room. Duanmu Tachio sat next to me and looked at me. I could feel the pain in his heart. I gently stroked his head and said, Don't be sad. When I am well, I will come back quickly. My mother is also very worried about me. Don't be sad. Duanmu Ke held my hand and said, I lost my child. I don't want to lose you even more. If the child is gone, we can have another one. But if you are not here, I will lose the direction of my life. If I lose you, I will have no meaning. I moved to the side of the bed to make some space. Then, I looked at Duanmu Ke and patted the space I made, indicating for him to come up. He looked at me but didn't move. I smiled and said to him, You must be tired. Come up and lie with me for a while. I really need you by my side right now, okay? Duanmu Ke nodded. He lay down next to me and hugged me tightly. I heard that familiar heartbeat again. I leaned against Duanmu Tachio's chest and thought about all the things that had happened recently. I knew that it was Yu Exan who did it, but I didn't have any ability to fight back. I thought that Duanmu Ke was like me. He also knew what Yu Exan had done. However, it was as if the two of us were under a spell. We didn't have any ability to fight back. Lying in Duanmu Ke's arms, I heard him sob. I lifted my head and looked at him. Tears streaked across his face. My heart broke. I gently stroked his face and said, Hubby, don't cry. I'm also sad that you're like this. But no matter what, we have to face life and the future positively, okay? Don't be sad anymore. Duanmu Ke hugged me tightly and cried. I patted his back. It was the first time I felt that a man who could support the sky and earth would show his weakest side to you. What kind of trust was that? Duanmu Ke held my face and said, I'm sorry. I really didn't expect things to turn out like this. I had a good plan. The two of us would move to the villa and live on our own. I would take care of you and you would stay with me. When the baby was born, the three of us would move back home and live with our parents. But everything I imagined was good. Why did reality turn out like this? It's like a bolt from the blue. I can't bear it alone. I didn't say anything. I held Duanmu Ke's face and kissed him deeply on the lips. Chapter 49. After staying in the hospital for more than a week, it was finally time to leave. During the past few days in the hospital, Duanmu Ke stayed by my side every day. He took care of me during the day and stayed with me at night. On the day I left the hospital, my mother brought some people over early. They packed my things and prepared to take me home. Seeing Duanmu Ke's hesitant eyes, I felt very conflicted. However, when I thought of my parents' worries, I had no choice but to say goodbye to him reluctantly and get on the car to go home. On the way home, I felt very depressed. I didn't know how long the car had been driving, but we finally arrived at the door. The housekeeper and the nannies were waiting at the door to welcome us. My mother and I walked into the room. My father walked toward us. He looked at me and smiled. It's good that you're back. After greeting my father, my mother took my hand and walked up the stairs. She brought me back to the room I used to live in. Pushing the door open, I saw that it was still the same as before I got married. My mother told me that after I left, she arranged for the nannies to clean the room every day. She also said that this would always be my home. As long as I wanted to come back, I could come back at any time. Stroking my bed, my mood was still very complicated. I didn't know what Duanmu Ke was doing at this moment. Did he miss me as much as I missed him? Right at this moment my phone rang. I turned it on and saw Dwanmu K's message. Are you home? I miss you so much. My heart was broken. Dwanmu K and I chatted for a while. He kept asking me to take good care of myself and take care of my body. He also told me to eat on time. Hearing Dwanmu K's words of concern, I could feel that he was completely different from when I first met him. I loved him more and more, and my feelings for him became stronger and stronger. Now I really didn't want to lose him. That was why I cherished Dwanmu K's love for me. I thought he felt the same way. Although it was a marriage contract, it changed our initial thoughts. From strangers to lovers, I have never regretted it. Because I had just been discharged from the hospital, my body was still very weak. In order to make it convenient for me, my mother would send the food directly to my room every time. She would watch me eat before leaving. She also wouldn't disturb me for too long in my room. Most of the time, she would let me rest peacefully. Other than when I was sleeping, as long as Dwanmu wasn't busy, he would chat with me. He would tell me funny things that happened to him. Time flew by as she chatted with him. Just like that, the first day passed. The next day, Dwanmu K came to our house early. He first chatted with my parents for a while, then ran to my room to accompany me. Dwanmu K pushed the door open and placed a bag of delicious food next to me. I flipped through the bag and saw that it was all my favorite food. It seemed that he knew me better. Dwanmu K climbed onto the bed and lay down next to me. He hugged me and asked, "How was your rest yesterday?" I nodded. "Not bad. Although I haven't slept here for a long time, it was still very comfortable. How about you? How was last night?" Dwanmu K shook his head meaningfully. "I didn't sleep very well last night." I looked at him suspiciously. "How could you not sleep well? What was the reason?" Dwanmu K looked at me. "Guess." I rolled my eyes at him and said, "How would I know what the reason is?" Dwanmu K hugged me. "Because you weren't by my side." Naturally, I couldn't sleep well. I always felt like something was missing. I leaned tightly against Dwanmu K's chest. Listening to his words, I blushed. Suddenly, Dwanmu K sat up as if he remembered something. He looked at me and said, "Oh right. When I got home yesterday, I checked the carpet on the floor." "Oh. Did you find anything?" "When I got home, I found that the carpet on the floor had been repaired. I asked Mom and Dad, but they said they didn't know anything about it." "Then who could have done it?" "Do you still need to ask? It must have been Yuexen." "How can you be so sure it was her? What if the carpet was damaged?" "Impossible. The timing was too coincidental. That day you fell down the stairs because the carpet slipped. But I checked it yesterday. The carpet had just been repaired. There was only a hole in it. That proves that there was a nail there before, but it disappeared, causing you to fall down the stairs. If the carpet was deformed after he stepped on it, then the nail that fixed the carpet should have been left there, and the carpet should have been torn. However, there was no tear at all. The carpet was intact, which proved that the nail on the carpet must have been removed by someone in advance. Thinking about it, other than Yuexen, who else in that house would harm you? But I don't have any evidence, so I can't accuse her. It's not the first or second time. She's so scheming. She already calculated that we can't do anything to her without evidence. That's why she acted so unscrupulously. Ah, it's a pity. If only I had recorded our conversation when she told me the truth. Now, if I find a chance to talk to her and secretly record it, do you think she'll tell the truth? Yes. That's impossible. Last time when you had a falling out with her, she told you the truth, but you didn't have any evidence. She won't say anything to you that you can use against her. Don't you know how scheming she is? Dwanmu K sighed and shook his head. I didn't expect Yuexin to be this kind of person. I always thought that she was only bad at doing things, but I didn't expect her to be such a shrewd woman. This time perhaps she really did do it. She probably already knew about my miscarriage, and was probably laughing up her sleeve. I stroked Dwanmu K's hair. Looking at him, I said, "Okay, don't think about it anymore. Let's put this matter behind us. Right now, the most important thing is to take care of my body so that I can give birth to a child for you. Duan-mu-ke smiled and looked at me. How can one be enough? We need at least 3 or 4. I patted his head. I'm not a pig. How can I give birth to so many? Duan-mu-ke smiled and said, Don't worry. The days are long. What are you afraid of? I leaned into Duan-mu-ke's embrace, feeling very happy. After a while, Duan-mu-ke patted my shoulder and said, Wife, I have a lot of things to deal with in the company, so I won't have much time to accompany you. Don't think too much about it. As long as I'm not busy, I'll definitely accompany you. If I don't have anything to do, I'll definitely come to see you. But if I'm pressed for time and can't come to see you or chat with you, can you not blame me? Chapter 50. I looked at him and said, Idiot, I'm not that narrow-minded. I know you have a lot of things to do, so you shouldn't spend too much energy on me. I'll definitely stay here and quietly take care of myself. You can be at ease and work hard to earn money. Try to earn enough money to feed your 3 or 4 children's milk powder. I made a face at him. That's a must. I believe that I will definitely have the ability, but the prerequisite is that you have to give me the motivation. Duan-mu-ke looked at me and said, I will definitely give you motivation. You don't have to worry about that. We still have a long way to go, right? Duan-mu-ke held me in his arms and gently kissed my forehead. After that, Duan-mu-ke rarely came to my house. Occasionally he would contact me through WeChat, but it didn't take long before he rushed to work. I knew he was busy, so I didn't want to disturb him. However, I was worried about his health since I wasn't by his side. I didn't know if he was doing well. I really wanted to get better quickly and stay by his side. Even if I couldn't do anything for him, just quietly accompanying him would make me happy. Every 2 or 3 days he would stay at my house for a night. Every time I wanted to talk to him and listen to him tell me about the things that happened around him. But after a few words, he would fall asleep next to me. Looking at him sleeping soundly, I didn't have the heart to wake him up. I could only quietly lie next to him. The next morning before I got up, he had already left for work. He spent less and less time with me, and the number of times he contacted me also decreased. Almost 2 weeks had passed, and Duan-mu-ke hadn't contacted me for 2 days. Although I called him, he said he was busy. He didn't wait for me to finish talking before he hung up. I suddenly felt a little lost. This inexplicable feeling of insecurity made me feel that something was going to happen. However, I still believed in him. I believed that he wouldn't ignore me. I believed that his heart was still thinking about me. I didn't think about those messy things anymore. I just wanted my body to get better as soon as possible. Then, I could return to Duan-mu-ke's house and stay by his side to accompany him. Being separated for a long time would often cause the feelings between 2 people to fade, but the happiness of absence makes the heart grow fonder. 2 weeks later, my mother accompanied me to the hospital for a comprehensive checkup. Finally, my body recovered completely. I was very happy because I could see Duan-mu-ke again. I really missed him. I had been away from him for a long time. Would he miss me too? The day before I decided to leave home, my mother helped me pack my luggage. She said a lot of things to me. She could tell that I really loved Duan-mu-Quebec. She told me that love was a matter between 2 people. 2 people should learn to give and think for each other. She also told me that no matter what happened, I should face it rationally and not be too emotional. I knew that my mother said those words for my own good, but at the same time, I also believed that Duan-mu-ke wouldn't do anything that would hurt me. The next day, my mother arranged for the driver to take me back to Duanmu's house. When I was about to reach the gate, I saw Xiao Fengya waiting for me at the gate. When she saw my car arrive at the gate, she welcomed me. When she saw me, she hugged me tightly. I could feel that she was very excited. Xiao Fengya arranged for the housekeeper to carry my luggage upstairs. She took my hand and led me to the living room. Xiao Fengya held my hand tightly, her eyes glistening with tears. She looked at me and asked, "Xiaoli, how have you been? Have you recovered?" I nodded and said, "Mom, I'm much better. How have you and Dad been? We've been fine. When you weren't here, it felt like something was missing in the house. It was lifeless. We couldn't get used to not seeing you and Dwanmu-K together. I smiled and said, how could that be? I'm back now, aren't I? Xiao Fengya held my hand and said, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. I looked around and didn't see anyone else. I turned and asked, Mom, where did Dad and the others go? How come I don't see them? Xiao Fengya said, Li Xiong went to the company. There are some things he needs to take care of. Yuexian left early. Maybe a friend is looking for her. As for Kair, Xiao Fengya paused. Where did he go? Yes. Xiao Fengya sighed and said, the company has been too busy recently. He hasn't been home for a while. I guess he's at the company right now. I nodded and said, okay. I don't have anything to do right now. How about I go to the company to find him? Xiao Fengya said, do you want to rest for a while? You can wait for him to come back. I'll call him later. I shook my head and said, no need, Mom. I'll go to his company and give him a surprise. Xiao Fengya smiled and said, okay. Be careful on the way. I'll have the driver take you there. Just like that, I arrived at Dwanmu-K's company. The girl at the front desk greeted me warmly. Hello. How can I help you? It seemed that she didn't know me. That wasn't strange. After all, not everyone in the underworld knew me. I looked at her and smiled. I'm here to see Dwanmu Quebec. Please wait a moment. She dialed a number and said a few words to the person on the other end. After hanging up, she walked over to me and said, hello, please come to the reception room. I followed her to the reception room and she left. After a while, a woman in business attire came in. She sat across from me and smiled. Hello. Are you looking for General Manager Dwanmu? He nodded. She continued. Do you have an appointment with him? I thought for a moment and said, I don't have an appointment with him. She looked at me and said, it's like this. The general manager isn't in the company today. I looked at her in confusion and asked, isn't today a working day? How could he not be in the company? It's like this, madam. I'm the general manager's secretary. He really isn't in the company today. But his mother told me that he was in the company. Oh, so you know, madam. I nodded. She continued. It's like this. Let me tell you, our company has been discussing a cooperation project. The general manager has brought all the relevant staff to the hotel to work on the project. Chapter 51. It turned out that Dwanmu-K was really busy. I asked, how long have they been there? About 3 days, but the contract was signed yesterday. The general manager should have come back today, but for some reason he didn't come to the company today. I don't know about the other details. I thought for a moment and said, can you tell me the name of the hotel where they're discussing the project? The woman nodded and wrote down the name of the hotel for me. I took the slip of paper and took a taxi to the hotel. Thinking that I would be able to see Dwanmu-K soon, I was very excited. The hotel wasn't far from their company, so I arrived shortly after. I entered the hotel lobby and went to the front desk. The receptionist welcomed me warmly. Hello, how may I help you? A receptionist stood up and asked me. It's like this. I heard that the Black Feather Group is discussing a cooperation project here. I would like to ask if they have booked any rooms here. Please wait a moment. I'll check for you. After waiting for a while, the receptionist said, hello, I've checked. The Black Feather Group is indeed discussing a cooperation project here. They have booked 4 rooms. That's great. Can you help me check which room Dwanmu-K is staying in? Please wait a moment. Check. Dwanmu-K is staying in room 1301. Do I need to call him? No, thank you. I'll go up and find him. I turned and walked to the elevator. I took the elevator to the 13th floor. At the end of the corridor, I found room 1301. I stood at the door and decided to call Dwanmu Quebec. I dialed his number, but no one answered. Through the door, I could faintly hear Dwanmuk's phone ringing. It seemed that he was indeed in the room. After confirming that he wasn't answering, I pressed the doorbell. I pressed the doorbell for a long time, but there was no response. I dialed Dwanmuk's number. This time he didn't pick up either. I was a little anxious, so I pressed the doorbell again. I leaned on the door and vaguely heard footsteps in the room. Then, a woman's voice sounded. "Who is it?" Hearing this voice, my mind went blank. At the same time, I imagined all kinds of possible situations. I kept asking myself, did Dwanmuk cheat on me? Impossible, he clearly loves me so much, but who is this woman's voice? Just as I was feeling conflicted, the door to the room opened. A woman with messy hair and a towel wrapped around her body stood in the doorway. Her sleepy face showed that she had just woken up. She looked me up and down. "Who are you? What's the matter?" I looked at her and tried to remain calm. "I'm here to look for someone," I said softly. "What are you looking for?" said the woman impatiently. "There is no one here. Hurry up and leave. If you don't tell me, I'll call security." She reached out and pushed me, trying to push me away. "I'm here to look for Dwanmuk Quebec." I tried to control my temper and silently told myself not to get angry. "You're here to look for Dwanmuk." The woman looked at me with a surprised face. I glared at her and pushed her away. I went straight to the room. It was a suite, and the bathroom door was open. I glanced around and didn't see anything strange. However, when I went to the living room, my heart couldn't stay calm anymore. The living room was a mess. There were all kinds of beer bottles on the coffee table. It seemed that several people had drunk here. The air in the room was filled with the thick smell of alcohol. There were some clothes scattered on the floor in the living room. I walked around the living room and went to the bedroom. There were also some clothes on the floor. Most of them were women's clothes. There were even some bras. It seemed that these clothes belonged to that woman. On the bed in the bedroom, I saw Dwanmuk Quebec. His upper body was naked and he was still sleeping soundly. The woman followed me. She pressed on my shoulder and asked, "Who are you? Who let you in? Hurry up and get out." I shook off her hand and walked to Dwanmuk Quebec. There was a bottle of water on the bedside table. I opened it and splashed it on Dwanmuk Quebec. Dwanmuk woke up. He sat up and shouted, "Who is it?" He rubbed his eyes and looked at me standing next to him with the bottle of water. His face was serious. He also saw the woman standing behind me. His expression was one of astonishment. My wife, why are you here?" The woman finally realized that I was Dwanmuk's wife. She crouched in the corner and shivered. I glared at the woman and looked at Dwanmuk Quebec. "What's going on?" Dwanmuk shook his head and signaled the woman to leave. I saw that the woman was about to leave, so I shouted, "Stop right there. You're not allowed to leave." When I tried to grab her, Dwanmuk pulled me into his arms. The woman picked up her clothes and ran out of the door in a panic. She left just like that. I shook Dwanmuk off, tears streaming down my face. "What's going on? Tell me clearly," I said to Dwanmuk as I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes. "Wife, listen to me. It's definitely not what you think it is." Dwanmuk didn't let go of me. "If it's not what it is, then what should it be? It's already so obvious. Can you tell me what it is? Do you think it makes sense?" I shook off Dwanmuk's hand and stood in front of him. "It's really not what you think it is. I just got to know this woman during the negotiation." "You just got to know her. You just got to know her, and she dared to appear in your room, and even naked on your bed?" I was a little agitated. "It's really not what you think. You have to believe me. Yesterday, after our successful cooperation, everyone had a party in my room to celebrate. Everyone drank a little too much. Originally, everyone was here before I drank too much. But I don't know why, but when I woke up I saw you here. That woman was also here. That woman is actually a director of the company we talked to. I didn't even know her before. I didn't know her before. Don't lie. Do you think I'll believe you? I know you won't believe anything I say now, but please believe me. I definitely didn't do anything wrong to you. Duan Muke held out his hand and said, I swear if I did anything wrong to you, I will be struck by lightning and die a horrible death. Wife, don't be angry, okay? You just recovered, so you can't be angry. Chapter 52. Looking at Duan Muke, I couldn't control myself. I lay on his body and cried. Duan Muke held me in his arms and said softly, Wife, I'm sorry. Don't cry anymore. Sorry. It's all my fault. If you're angry, you can hit me or scold me. Don't be sad anymore, okay? It's not good for your health. I pulled his arm and cried so hard that I couldn't make a sound. Duan Muke carried me to the bed and gently put me next to him. Then he hugged me tightly. Perhaps it was because the woman had slept with him, but the bedsheets, blanket, and pillows were all filled with another woman's scent. I pushed Duan Muke away and sat up. I wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes and sat there looking at him. Duan Muke didn't know what to do. He looked at me and asked, Wife, what's the matter? Why are you getting up? Come, let me hug you. Then he reached out to hug me. I shook off Duan Muke's hand and said, Don't touch me. I don't want to sleep in a bed that you slept in with another woman. Hearing my words, the way Duan Muke looked at me changed. It was the same as the way he looked at me when we were drinking. It seemed that he was a little angry. Duan Muke pulled my hand and said, I already said that nothing happened between me and her. You're so sure that something happened between me and her, right? I didn't know why, but when I saw Duan Muke's familiar yet strange face, my heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. It was bleeding. It seemed that my presence here was unnecessary. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and got off the bed. I picked up my backpack, which had been thrown on the ground during the chaos, and prepared to leave. Where are you going? Duan Muke shouted. I ignored him and walked to the door. Suddenly, Duan Muke rushed behind me and picked me up. He walked to the bed and threw me on it. As I was about to get up, he pressed me under his body and I couldn't move. I used both my hands to push Duan Muke away. Because I used a lot of strength, his naked upper body was covered in bloody scratches from my scratches. Duan Muke held my hands down and watched me struggle under his body. As he watched, he actually laughed out loud. What are you laughing at? I looked at him with a puzzled face. Duan Muke stroked my hair. His expression wasn't as serious as before. Became very gentle. He said softly, You're like a kitten. What? Do you really think you can run away from me? I glared at him and said, Duan Mu Quebec. I don't want to talk to you. Me go. Since you said I'm a gangster, I have to do something a gangster should do. Isn't that right, beauty? Duan Muke looked at me with a perverted smile. Then he slid his hand under my skirt. My legs kicked wildly, but he was still on top of me. I didn't have any room to resist. Duan Muke held my arm with one hand and held my face with the other. I looked into his eyes again. This scene was familiar. It was just like the time when he had pressed on top of me in the resting room of the wedding venue. The only thing that had changed was that both of us existed in each other's hearts. Duan Muke looked at me. With a tender expression, he caressed my face and said, No matter how good others are, they are not mine. No matter how many people throw themselves at me, they cannot enter my heart. Silly wife, you're the only one I love. Duan Muke kissed my lips. It was a feeling I missed. Only Duan Muke could give me. I stopped resisting and put my arms around Duan Muke's neck. Duan Muke took the opportunity to hold me in his arms. His hand went under my clothes and wandered around my body. Hearing my rapid breathing, Duan Muke became even more excited. He kissed from my mouth to my neck and unbuttoned my clothes. Then, he took them off one by one until I was naked under him. Duan Muke raised his head and looked at my naked body. Embarrassed, I pulled the blanket over my face. Duan Muke moved the blanket away and looked at me. Little fool, your face is red. I felt even more embarrassed. I covered my face with my hands and said, I'm not. Duan Muke moved my hands away and said, we're an old married couple. Why are you still so shy? I looked at him and nodded. Duan Muke pressed on top of me and buried his head in my neck. He said softly, wife, let's have another child. I hugged Duan Muke and nodded. Duan Muke raised his head and looked at me. Then he kissed me on the lips. After a round of passion, I lay in Duan Muke's arms and felt his warmth. Perhaps it was because he hadn't let loose in a long time, but Duan Muke lay next to me. His forehead was covered in sweat. I lay down next to him and reached out to gently wipe the sweat off his face. It had been a long time since I had seen him so close. He was as handsome as ever, and as always he was only gentle with me. At this moment, Duan Muke's phone rang. He opened his eyes and took the phone. He glanced at the screen and then at me, who was standing next to him with a face full of question marks. He pulled me into his arms and answered the call. Hello, who is this? Duan Muke kissed my forehead. Haha, young Master K, do you recognize who I am? A man's voice came from the other end of the phone. Well, you're so forgetful. I'm the person in charge of the cooperation agreement with your company. Duan Muke thought for a moment and said, oh, I remember now. It's Director Lee. Hello. I lay on Duan Muke's body and listened to the other person's words. Hello, young Master Quebec. I'm sorry to disturb you. Did you rest well last night? Obviously, there was something to this sentence. I looked at Duan Muke and Duan Muke looked at me. What do you mean by this? Duan Muke heard the hidden meaning in the man's words. Young Master K is indeed smart. Young Master K is indeed smart. Actually, I didn't call you for anything else. I just wanted to introduce you to the girl who stayed over in young Master K's room last night. She is our company's new head of marketing. Originally, when the two companies signed the contract, it wasn't her turn to participate, but I heard that your company specifically wanted Michelle to participate. I immediately understood young Master K's intentions, so I took the opportunity last night to arrange for Michelle to stay over at your place. We're all men, I understand you, who doesn't have needs, right? Hearing the man's words, Duan Muke and I both froze. Director Lee, you have to have a basis for your words. Be careful or I'll sue you for slander. Duan Muke's words revealed his dissatisfaction. Chapter 53. Young Master K, that's where you're wrong. I did what your company asked me to do. What's wrong? You don't want to admit it now that you've had your fun. You. Before Duan Muke could say anything, I grabbed Duan Muke's arm and gestured for him to calm down. Then, I picked up a pen and paper from the bedside table and wrote a few words for him to see. Duan Muke gave me a thumbs up and said to the other end of the phone, Director Lee, I was just joking with you. How about this? I didn't have time to talk to Miss Michelle this morning because of some matters. Can you ask her to come to my room now? I'll definitely accept this favor. Just ask her to come over. Okay. I'll ask her to come over now. Duan Muke hung up the phone. He looked at me and sighed. As I put on my clothes, I said to him, See? I'll see how you're going to deal with this mess after drinking. Duan Muke scratched his head and said, I really didn't have sex with her. I don't know what to do now. After I put on my clothes, I sat down next to Duan Muke and looked at him. Don't you think it's strange? Director Lee said that someone in your company specifically asked for Michelle to join the collaboration. What's more, Michelle appeared in your room the night the contract was signed. That's right. Duan Muke nodded. What's more, I appeared at the scene at a very inappropriate time. At the time I called you at the door. I faintly heard your phone ringing, but you didn't answer. I knocked for a long time, but no one opened the door. The second time I called, no one answered. When I knocked again, that woman came to open the door. When she opened the door, she was only wearing a bath towel. My first reaction was that you two had just done it or she had just taken a bath. Can I say that I didn't hear my phone or the doorbell? Duan Muke looked at me with a helpless expression. You didn't hear anything. Then there's only one explanation. The phone was left in the living room, and the bedroom door was closed. As for why the girl opened the door in a towel, I think I can explain it. Then why? Duan Muke asked. First she saw me calling you. Then she heard me knocking on the door. She saw me through the peephole and knew that I was your wife. In order to make me misunderstand that something had happened between you two, she took off all her clothes and pretended that you two had just had sex. She used that to confuse me and make me misunderstand you. Duan Muke thought for a moment and asked, but why would she do that? I only got to know her through this collaboration. Why would she set us up like this? You can ask her when she comes. You can ask her in the drawing room, and I'll hide in the bedroom and pretend I'm not there. I put my arms around Duan Muke's neck and kissed him. You did something wrong, so you have to clean it up yourself. Duan Muke lay on the pillow and sighed with a hopeless expression. Oh my God, why did she have to do this? Duan Muke put on his clothes and went to the drawing room to wait for her. I told him what I wanted to ask her and hid in the bedroom. Not long after, the doorbell rang. Duan Muke opened the door and a girl walked in. It was Michelle, who had run away in a panic this morning. Have a seat. Duan Muke pointed at the seat across from him. Michelle sat down embarrassedly. What's your name? Duan Muke asked. Hello, young Master Quebec. I'm Michelle. Her voice was very low, and I had to listen carefully to hear her clearly. Well, I won't beat around the bush with you. Tell me briefly what happened between the two of us last night. After a while, Michelle said. It's like this. Last night, everyone was drinking in young Master K's room to celebrate the signing of the contract. Everyone was drunk except for me because I was allergic to alcohol. Later it was very late, around 1 a.m., and Director Lee told everyone to go back to rest. Young Master K, you were already drunk and unconscious. Director Lee told me to take you to the bedroom and take care of you. Then they left. I helped you back to the bedroom, and you? Michelle glanced at Duan Mu Quebec. What did I do? Duan Muke asked. You pressed me down on the bed and then took off my clothes and had sex with me. Michelle lowered her head embarrassedly. Hearing Michelle's answer, I couldn't help but laugh in my heart. It was pretty much what I had imagined. Duan Muke stood up and walked in front of Michelle. He put his hands on the sofa's armrests and looked at Michelle. I've always been a responsible man. If I really did sleep with you last night, then you should go to the hospital's laboratory with me to do a test. If I really did do it, then I'll definitely take responsibility for you. Michelle paused and said, No need, no need. I'm also responsible for this. Young Master K, you don't have to take responsibility. Michelle glanced at Duan Muke and said in a low voice, Young Master K, I have something to do at the company. I have to go back to take care of it. I'll be leaving first. Duan Muke didn't move. Still looking at Michelle, he said word by word, I like children who speak the truth. 'Cause with me, lying is punishable by death. Michelle seemed to be frightened by Duan Mu Quebec. She shouted, No! Duan Muke stood up and walked back to the sofa in front of her. He looked at Michelle and said, I'll give you 5 minutes. After you think it through, give me a final answer. Time flew by. No one in the room spoke. I leaned against the wall that connected the bedroom to the living room and waited for Michelle's answer. I hoped that she would tell the truth. It would be best if the person she mentioned was the one I thought of. When the 5 minutes were up, Duan Muke glanced at his watch and said to Michelle, Okay, time's up. You can tell me your answer now. What happened between the two of us last night? Michelle thought for a moment and looked at Duan Mu Quebec. Young Master K, I can tell you the truth, but please promise me that you can't let anyone else know about this. After all, my whole family is indebted to my company. If the company finds out, it might endanger my family. If you promise me, I'll tell you the truth. If you don't, then I can only let the misunderstanding continue. Duan-mu-ke thought for a moment and said to Michelle, Okay, I promise I'll keep it a secret. If your company really uses your family to threaten you, you can come find me. The Kurosawa will accept you and your family. Chapter 54. Michelle nodded and began to tell the truth. This is what happened. I just joined our company for less than 2 weeks. A month ago, I attended a recruitment interview, but I didn't pass it. 2 weeks ago, I suddenly received a call from the company's personnel department, saying that they want to hire me as the head of the marketing department. Because I'm not capable enough, I applied for the position of the marketing commissioner. I didn't expect to be promoted to the position of the head of the marketing department. I was very happy. On the first day of work, Director Lee called me over and told me that there was an agreement to be signed with the Black Nightmare Group. I did not know what it meant at that time, so I could only prepare according to the materials he gave me. I also looked through them carefully, but there was nothing strange. About a week ago, a woman came to the company. That woman left a deep impression on me. She was dressed in black, with a black hat, black sunglasses, a black mask, a black dress and black high heels. She gave off a very oppressive feeling. On the day she came, she went straight to Director Lee's office and called me in. That woman took out 50,000 in cash from her bag and placed it in front of me. She told me that she wanted me to do something. When I saw that much money, I was a little tempted, but I did not dare to blindly agree. I asked her what it was about, and she told me that she wanted me to go to your room and get you drunk on the last night before signing the contract with your company, and take some indecent photos and videos with you. After that, she would pay me a portion of the money. Because it was harmful, I refused at first, but that woman took out the photos of my parents and brother. She said that if I did not do it, she would not be able to guarantee the safety of my family. She used my family to threaten me. I had no choice but to agree. So from the moment I moved into this hotel, I tried everything to get close to you and get your attention, but you did not respond. Finally, after signing the contract and seeing that I was going to check out the next day, Director Lee arranged a celebration party in your room. I did not expect you to agree. Before the party started, Director Lee gave me another 50,000 to have sex with you. I had no choice but to obey. That day, when everyone was drunk, he found a chance to take everyone away, leaving only you and I. I tried to take off your clothes, but you ignored me and walked back to your room. You fell asleep on the bed. I had no choice but to take a few photos beside you, but I did not dare to sleep with you, so I slept on the sofa for the whole night. Until what happened this morning, you know. Duan-mu-ke thought for a moment and said, Where are the photos? Michelle took out her phone and put it on the coffee table. Here they are. You didn't leak these photos, did you? Absolutely not. Don't worry. When I saw your wife call you, I was scared. I ran back to my room until my manager called me and asked me to come here. Duan-mu-ke took the phone and deleted the photos that Michelle had taken of the two of them. Then he returned the phone to Michelle and said, I've already deleted the photos. If these photos are leaked, I'll definitely hold you responsible. Michelle sighed and said, Don't worry. I think you're a good person. I don't want to hurt you. I've decided to quit my job and leave with my family. I'm very sorry for causing you unnecessary trouble. Hearing this, I took out my phone and sent a message to Duan-mu Quebec. I told him to try his best to keep Michelle and get her to work for him. After reading my message, Duan-mu-ke said to Michelle, How about this? You don't have to leave. Even if you leave, they will still track you down if you don't finish what they want you to do. I need someone from my side in your company. I think you are very suitable for this role. Of course, I will also ensure the safety of your family. Your brother will also receive a good education. What do you think about this deal? Really? Thank you, young Master Quebec. But how do I explain this to Manager Lee? Michelle asked. Duan-mu-ke thought for a moment. Then he took Michelle's phone and threw it to the ground. The phone broke into pieces. Duan-mu-ke picked up the phone and handed it to Michelle. Go back and tell Manager Lee that you threatened me with those photos and asked me to take responsibility. I got angry and smashed your phone. Then, tell him that I don't want to admit my relationship with you. Dwan Kay took out a stack of money from his wallet and handed it to Michelle. This is the compensation for your phone. Go and buy a new one. I have one more question. Do you really not know the woman who went to find Manager Lee and you? Dwan Kay asked. I really don't know her. She's definitely not someone from our company. Also, from the way she dresses, I can tell that she's rich. But she's very small and I can't see her face, so I can't describe her well. Listening to her description, I was a little confused. Alright, I got it. Michelle, you can leave now. Remember to do as I say. If you continue to backstab me, I won't be able to guarantee your family's safety either. I hope you remember this. Dwan Kay's method of threatening people was indeed effective. Michelle readily agreed and left. After Michelle left, I walked out of the bedroom and sat on the sofa, deep in thought. Dwan Kay walked to my side and put his arm around my shoulder. Wifey, what's wrong? He asked. You look so serious. I shook my head and ignored him. See, I told you. Nothing must have happened. Dwan Kay looked at me with a face full of confidence. This is confirmed, but there are still a lot of questions. Who is that woman? She was the one who controlled everything from the beginning. Why did she do that? Did Manager Lee know or not? There are a lot of questions that need to be answered. I leaned on his shoulder, my brows furrowed. Dwan Kay said, It's not hard for me to guess that there's a thin and small person who likes black, but I can't guarantee that it's her. Although she's always done some wrong things in the past, at least it wouldn't affect the company's interests. But now, this problem has already implicated the company's profits, so I'm also doubting whether it's her. I looked at Dwan Kay and said, I'm thinking the same thing as you. I think we're both suspecting the same person. If it really is her, then I don't understand. She should be targeting me. Why is she targeting you now? Dwan Kay held my face and said, Silly wifey, you're guessing that it's you exen, right? Chapter 55. I looked at Dwan Kay and nodded. That's right, I guessed it was her. But there's one thing I don't understand. How could she have guessed that I would come to you at that time? Silly wife, don't you understand? Uxian arranged for Michelle to get close to me. She didn't want you to see what was going on between us. She arranged for Michelle to take some indecent photos of us and then use them to drive a wedge between you and me. You just showed up at the wrong time and exposed her, silly wife. Dwan Kay gently pinched my nose. I thought about it carefully. Dwan Kay was right. I wrapped my arms around Dwan Kay's neck. So what should we do next? Let's wait and see. Dwan Kay then carried me in his arms and walked to the bedroom. What are you doing? I was afraid that he would drop me, so I could only hug his neck tightly. Dwan Kay looked at me with a lewd smile. I'm tired. Lie down with me for a while longer. Stop fooling around. Look at the time. Let's pack up and go home. Mom and Dad are waiting for us. Dwan Kay didn't pay attention to me. He put me on the bed and quickly stripped me again. I looked at him helplessly, but it was no use. Dwan Kay looked at me and said, It's rare for the two of you to spend time together. You have to cherish it. Just now, you said that you wanted to give me a baby. You have to work harder, right? You have to cherish your precious time. I couldn't help it. I was completely defeated by Dwan Kay's logic. Looking into his gentle eyes, I had no choice but to agree. I lay under him and felt his gentleness. Because I loved him, I could feel that everything he brought to me was beautiful. At this moment, I only had one thought. I wanted to be with him forever. Perhaps it was because we had been tossing and turning for too long. Dwan Kay fell asleep in my arms after he finished venting. I also fell asleep while hugging him. When we woke up, it was already evening. We packed our luggage and headed back to Dwanmu's house. Xiao Fengya had already prepared a table full of sumptuous dishes for us. After everyone was seated, Xiao Fengya served me a bowl of pig trotter soup. "Xiao Li, welcome home," she said. "You've just recovered and your body is still weak. I asked the chef to make this for you." "Thank you, Mom." I took the bowl Xiao Fengya handed to me, tasted it and said, "Mom, this is delicious. As long as it tastes good." Xiao Fengya looked at me and smiled. Duan Muke looked at me and then at the soup I was drinking. He held the bowl in front of Xiao Fengya and pretended to act cute. "Mom, I want some too," he said. Duan Mutachio reached out and patted Duan Muke's hand. "Do it yourself. You're an adult." Looking at Duan Muke's aggrieved expression, I couldn't help but laugh. Duan Muke pursed his lips and said unhappily, "It's so unfair. I'm obviously the biological one. This isn't fair. I want to protest." He raised his hand as if he was really going to protest. I pulled back Duan Muke's outstretched hand. "Protest overruled. Hurry up and eat." I reached out and picked up Duan Muke's bowl and served him a bowl of soup. Duan Muke looked at Xiao Fengya and Duan Mutachio with an arrogant expression. "See, my wife cares about me." Looking at Duan Muke's silly expression, Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya both laughed. Everyone at the table was talking and laughing. Only Yuexin sat there and ate. When everyone was almost done eating, Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya looked at each other. They took out a bank card from their pockets and put it in front of me. I looked at the bank card and then at Duan Mutachio. "Dad, what's this for?" "Xiao Li, don't think too much. Ever since you got pregnant, so many things have happened. Your mother and I feel sorry for you. We feel that we didn't take good care of you. This is a small token of our appreciation. Just accept it. If you like something, just buy it. Don't be stingy." After listening to Duan Mutachio's words, I looked at Duan Mu Quebec. At this moment, Yuexin suddenly stood up. "I'm done eating. Have something to do. I'll take my leave first." Then she went upstairs. Obviously she wasn't happy. I looked at Duan Mutachio and said, "Dad, I can't accept this. We don't lack money. You and Mom should use this money to buy something." I pushed the card back to Duan Mutachio. Duan Muke put the card in his pocket and said to Duan Mutachio and Xiao Fengya, "Thank you, Dad." "Thank you, Mom. I'll accept it on behalf of Xiao Li. We'll take our leave now." Before I could finish, Duan Muke dragged me back to the room. After entering the room, he put the card in my bag and lay down on the bed. I looked at his lazy appearance and said, "Why do you want Dad's money? It's not like we don't have it." Since it's for you, just accept it." Duan Muke rolled over and lay on the bed. "What's going on?" I sat down next to him and looked at him. "Actually, it's nothing. Didn't you go back home after you were discharged? My parents felt that they had wronged you. My mother cried almost every day and kept saying that it was because of her negligence that you were injured again and again. Later I told them that you would come back when you recovered. They were very happy. You can just treat it as a gift from them." "That's not very good." I was still a bit worried. "What's not good about it? Just listen to me. If you don't accept it, they'll really feel bad about it." Duan Muke rolled over and lay down on my lap. At that moment, Xiao Fengya's voice came from outside the door. "Xinshin, it's so late. Why are you still going out?" It sounded like she wanted to go out. "Auntie, I'm not going out. There's someone at the door looking for me. I'll go take a look and then come back." I heard Yuexion's voice. "Bae, come back soon." Then there was the sound of footsteps. Hearing the footsteps, Duan Muke rolled over and jumped off the bed. He ran to the window and hid behind the curtains. He gently lifted the curtains a bit. I followed him to the window. Through the gap in the curtains, I saw Yuexin jogging toward the door. Duan Muke looked at me and said, "Wife, do you want to see who she's meeting with and what they're talking about?" I looked at him and nodded. Duan Muke moved his face closer. I looked at him blankly. He pointed to his lips and said, "Kiss me and I'll take you there." I looked at him with a black face. "What time is it?" You're still joking. If you don't kiss her, she'll come back. Duan made a threatening face at me. I had no choice but to move closer and kiss his lips. You're tuning in to the Whispers of Romance YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.